Today we're going to be doing a houseplant tour, autumn 2025, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So let's get started. And we are starting off with Syngonium Red Arrow. This is a fairly new addition to my plant collection, and even though I haven't had it all that long, it does seem to be a really fast grower. And what I really love about this one is it's quite different to other Syngoniums in that it has much thicker leaves. A lot of Syngoniums, they tend to have quite thin leaves, but these leaves are much thicker and more substantial. And this one has really dark leaves too. It's got the really dark green on the outside, but then you've also got beautiful burgundy on the backs of the leaves, and it's just a really beautiful glossy plant. I think it's probably one of my favourite Syngoniums, and I was kind of put off from getting this one for a while because I wasn't sure if I'd like it, because I don't think it photographs too well. So when you see it online it can look a little bit straggly and dark, but in person this plant is absolutely beautiful and I'd highly recommend it. This is my Philodendron Brazil. This one is now touching the floor. It really is one of those plants that just grows so well and so fast. It's certainly been one of my fastest growers this growing season, and I think next year I am probably going to have to give it a bit of a trim because it's getting a bit too long now. So some propagations will be on the way. What I do tend to find with Philodendron Brazil is that when you propagate them, when you chop them, they do grow even more. So you end up with an even bushier plant than you had before. And then coming over here, this is my Philodendron Atapapuense, and this one was very small at the start of the growing season. This has been my first growing season with this one, and I'm actually quite impressed with how much it's grown. It's got quite tall, really. Still putting out leaves at the moment, but I wouldn't say it was the fastest grower, but it does grow really well, and I really love the kind of narrow, long leaves on this one. And the silvery colour as well is really nice. Looks like next year I'll have to give it more support though. At the moment it just has kind of a short stick, but it will definitely need something a little taller next year. But this is one of those really easy care plants too. I absolutely love this one. Another of my fastest growers, just overall, not just this season but last season. I've had this one for 2 growing seasons now, and it was tiny when I bought it, and honestly this is one of the fastest growing plants you could get. This one is, like I say, really nearly touching the floor now. It's a really fast grower, and I will have to give this one a bit of a chop back next year as well because it's getting rather large. And I'm really shocked at how fast this one grows. It grows just as fast as the Epipremnum aureum, you know, the green with the splashes of gold on it. This one grows just as fast as that one. And it has this really kind of neon yellow foliage, which I really like because it does stand out against the greens of my other plants as well. I think it's a really good variety of Epipremnum. Over here in the corner I have my Ficus alii, and I think this one has spider mites, so after this I'm going to pop it into the shower for a treatment. But it's a pretty easy care plant really, and not the fastest grower, but it's consistent and it's actually really tough as well. I've let it dry out a few times a bit too much, and it never seems to throw a tantrum, and it has these lovely long leaves as well. It's definitely a bit of a spin on your usual rubber plant. Usually rubber plants have the kind of the big leaves, but I just think this one's kind of cool. And yeah, it's like a mini tree really, an indoor tree, and I really like it filling up this corner here. And then just next to it I have my Begonia maculata, and since it's right next to it, I'll definitely be treating this one just in case as well, but haven't seen any on this one so far. But this is a really easy begonia, and it's so forgiving as well. I try not to let it dry out, of course, and as a result it doesn't really seem to suffer from browning tips. I don't think that's a humidity issue, because I don't really give mine a humidifier at all. It's just in ambient humidity, and I think it might be if you underwater it then it gets the brown tips, because this one seems fine so long as I keep up with the watering. But I just love the angel shape of the leaves on this one. I think it's beautiful, and of course those polka dots, very striking. Next to it here I have my variegated peace lily. I think this is the domino peace lily. There are a few different ones, aren't there? And I've said it before, I don't particularly like peace lilies that much. I don't hate them or anything, but they're just not top on my list. But I quite like the variegated ones. They kind of look a little bit more exciting. And yeah, so this one is pretty cool. It has some kind of unique variegation on it. It kind of comes out in little shapes like this. You get bits of white, and I think it's just a cool plant. Over here I have my baby Epipremnum pinnatum marble, and this was my first growing season with this one, just a really small plant in the pot. It is starting to vine now, and this one does fenestrate as well as it matures, but I fancied this one in my collection for a while, so next year I shall get it climbing. But it does take a while for the fenestrations to come, even when you get it climbing, so I really appreciate it in its current state too though, because it's just nice as it is. I don't necessarily need it to hurry up and mature. I think it's just a nice plant as it is. It's got some really pretty variegation on it. And then this is my Scindapsus exotica, and I think this was my second growing season with this year, and it's not a fast grower at all. I can't remember, it might be my first, but it's definitely not a fast grower, this one. Yeah, I definitely got it last year, so this is my second growing season with it, but it grows so slowly, this one, but I really think it's worth it. I really do. The leaves are so pretty. This is basically my prized favourite Aglaonema right now. It's my biggest Aglaonema. It's Aglaonema Silver Bay, and it's nice and big and full, and I really love the variegation on the leaves on this one, and it's such an easy grower too. It really is beautiful. I love the shape of the leaves and how bushy it's getting. I recently started noticing that it has new plants coming out of the soil too, so it has started to multiply, which is really good because it will just get fuller and fuller, and I just love it. I mean, look at those kind of silvery sheens to it. The leaves are so shiny and pretty. And over here I have my Syngonium albo. This was my first growing season with this one, and it really has got big compared to how it was at the beginning, and yeah, it's turned out to be one of my fastest growers. If you only get one Syngonium, make it this one. Honestly, this one is really good. I really enjoy this one, and it has really pretty variegation, but it also grows so fast, and I just think it's one of the fun Syngoniums. Also with this one, I've noticed it doesn't seem to suffer from the leaves staying rolled up for too long. I don't know if you've noticed some Syngoniums, the leaves will stay rolled up for a long time, especially the pink ones. But this one, they don't seem to stay rolled up for too long. Not really sure why that is, but that's just something I observed about this plant. But yeah, I love this plant. It's so lush and beautiful. I mean, every leaf is a surprise. It comes out with this gorgeous splashy variegation. I love it. And yeah, I'll give it something to climb next year for sure. It will need something. I'm thinking maybe a trellis or something. Not quite so sold on a pole for this one. Over here I have a little Aglaonema bamboo. It's very cute, isn't it? And look at that little baby. It's popping up out of the soil. Aglaonemas do that, so you don't necessarily have to buy lots of plants for the pot. They do eventually start to multiply by themselves. And this one's really cute and delicate and dainty. I think it has thinner leaves, and I kind of like that about it because I don't really see that in my other Aglaonemas. It's quite different and unique. So yeah, really like this one. And then another Aglaonema that is probably top of my favourite list is this one. This is Aglaonema aqua green, and I just love this one, how muted the tones are on it and just how chilled out it is. It's a really pretty plant, and I really do love the Aglaonemas with all the bright colours as well, but this one kind of just offers something a little different, calmer colours, and I just think it's stunning. I really love it. I'm always looking at it. And then next we're moving up to another Aglaonema here. This is Aglaonema pastella, I think, as far as I know. A lot of them look a bit similar, don't they? It also looks a bit like a Coco melon as well, but I think it might be the pastella one, but it doesn't really matter. I just think it's pretty, and yeah, it's got kind of these peachy coloured stems and petioles, and I just think it's a really pretty plant. And yeah, I've enjoyed having this one in my collection. Aglaonemas are always a really good addition to my plant collection because they're just so easy to care for and they're really rewarding. Over here I have an Epipremnum pennatum Cebu blue, and this is a little pot of propagations that I've grown myself, and it's quite a fast grower, this one, I find. As long as you give it bright and direct light, it can tolerate kind of darker areas in your home, but it will definitely lose its bluey colour, and it won't grow as fast either, so definitely put it in bright and direct light, and it tends to be quite a fast grower when you do that. I really love this one. It's one of my favourite plants, and yeah, this is before it gets to the point where it's mature with fenestrations, and honestly I think it's just as nice like this. I'll be leaving this one as it is. I won't be putting it on a pole to mature. Now this is another of my favourite Aglaonemas. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. This is Aglaonema chartreuse pretty, and I'd had this on my wish list for so long, and I didn't really expect to see it when I was out and about shopping, but I did see it one day, and it was a really good price too, so I bought it, and yeah, I just absolutely adore it. I think it has some of the prettiest leaves of all the Aglaonemas. It's just got something that I love about it. I think the new leaves, they seem to have a bit of pink in them, but maybe that fades out over time by the looks of it. But I just think the variegation balance in this one is really cool. Almost reminds me of an animal of some type. I don't know, maybe a tiger, but I just think it's a pretty Aglaonema. This is my Philodendron painted lady, Philodendron erubescens variety, and this was again my first growing season with this one, and I'm really impressed by how much it's grown. It's definitely taken off, probably far quicker than I thought it would. I didn't expect it to grow slowly, but I wasn't expecting it to grow quite as fast as it has. But it's made so much great progress this year, and it's just looking so beautiful and lush. I absolutely adore this one. This is one of those plants I had on my wish list for ages, and they don't always live up to your expectations, do they? But this one in particular absolutely did live up to my expectations. And I love the colours on the leaves, and I love the red petioles as well. Really pretty. I mean, what's not to love about that beautiful variegation? I think it's so beautiful. Then this is another philodendron that I recently added back into my collection because my previous one didn't make it. Happy to have this one back in my collection. At the moment it's obviously quite new. I only just bought it at the end of the growing season, so at the moment it's fairly small, and I'm kind of glad because this one is quite a fast grower when it takes off, so I will have to kind of take that into account in future. But I just think it's such a pretty plant. It's not just the colour of the leaves, but the shape. Those two things combined just mesmerise me with this plant, and I just find it really beautiful. And yeah, it's one of those plants that I think I would put firmly at the top of my kind of all-time favourites of all time list. I think it's definitely a plant that I love, hence why I rebought it. Over here on the plant shelves next, we are going to look at this one. This is Ripsalis bolivianum. This again was my first growing season with this plant. This one's actually a jungle cactus, and I did repot this one and it seems fine. It's been growing really well. You can see that it's kind of got tendrils growing from tendrils, so that tells me that it must be happy, and I just think it's a beautiful plant, this one. Probably another one I'd add to my all-time favourites list as well. I absolutely love this one. It's just so jungly and cool and fun, and yeah, it's just one of those plants that always brings me joy. I like how it's very unpredictable and a little bit crazy. I do like that about a plant. But yeah, I like how this one is growing. It's kind of starting to look quite unkempt, which is a good look for this plant, I think. And yeah, I think it looks quite nice here in its little pink pot. It took a little while to settle into its new pot, but now it's settled in, it does seems to really be taking off. It's actually grown a lot more than I thought it had. Looking at it here, I haven't really kind of looked at it closely for a while, and it's definitely grown a lot more than I thought it had. I did propagate this one as well. Over here tucked in the back is my, I was going to say Sansevieria fernwood, but Sansevieria is now Dracaena, isn't it? Dracaena. But either way, it is a snake plant, and it has these little pointy leaves. It's kind of cool and fun, and yeah, I like this one. It's not a fast grower, but it's faster than a lot of other snake plants. And then here we have Peperomia prostrata, otherwise known as string of turtles, and I got this one this year, just two tiny little tots, you know, the tiny little baby plants you buy in plant shops, and I popped them in together, and this is how they've grown. They've grown quite fast. I'm quite surprised at how much they have grown, but they're just the cutest thing ever, I think, those tiny little turtles. I absolutely love this plant, and yeah, I just pray it never gets pests, because I'm not sure what I will do about that. Realistically, it is going to get pests at some point, because all plants do. So I think it's one of those plants that is to be enjoyed whilst it's here. Well, that's all plants really, isn't it? But I understand that it's here for a good time and not a long time. So yeah, I'm just enjoying it now whilst I have it, and I accept that it will it will come to an end, and I'm fine with that. And then next to it I have my favourite snake plant of all time, the moonshine snake plant. I just adore this plant, and I put it in this kind of light green pastel-y pot because I think it really complements the plant. It kind of pulls out some of the colours in it, but this one grows so beautifully. It always puts out new growth. I've had this, I think this is my second growing season now, and I just love it. It's one of those OG plants that I put right at the top of my list of favourites. And moving on to shelf number 2, what do we have here? We have a string of pearls, otherwise known as Senecio rowleyanus. Have to be careful how I say that. And yeah, sometimes I call this the string of peas, which pretty obvious why. But this is another plant that I have fancied for a while, and my mum-in-law actually gave me this one, and I'm really pleased to say it's been growing well. I haven't repotted it yet, and I'm dreading that, but I just hope it survives. But it's grown quite a lot this year, and this is the first year I've had it, so I think it's done pretty well. Now we've come to the end of the growing season. It's looking nice and healthy, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's growing this year. And I do really like this one. I love trailing plants. So over here we have the Hoya carnosa freckles. Had to think about that for a minute. And this is one that I picked up at a garden centre. This is my first growing season with it. I bought it fairly close to the end of the growing season, but despite that, it's actually done quite a bit of growing. Unlike a lot of my other Hoyas, it seems to be growing a lot faster, so that's quite interesting. And yeah, it has some pretty kind of speckled variegation on it. I like how big and shiny and waxy the leaves are, and I like how it's still growing for me at the moment, even though we are now in autumn. I'm definitely a fan of a plant that keeps growing for a little bit longer after the summer ends. But this is one of my favourite Hoyas. I love this one. I just think it's really pretty. It just looks so lush and green and healthy, and yes, it brings me a lot of joy to look at this one. And I think it might turn into one of my fastest growing plants. Let's see what it does next year, but it did settle in a lot quicker than some of my other plants have after I've bought them. Moving on to another Hoya, and this one I bought very, very recently, fairly close to the last one I just showed you, but this one hasn't really taken off yet. It hasn't lost any leaves though, and it's looking okay, so that's a good thing. I think it will be next year now when this one gets going, but I put it in this pot. I love this pot, it's one of my favourites, and I love the veination in this plant. It's so pretty. Looking forward to seeing it grow next year, hopefully. I think it might have a few little growth points already starting up, but I'm not sure how much progress it will make. Now we're going into autumn, but nevertheless, I just love this plant, and I'm really glad I found this. It was literally the only one in the shop when I was there, and I couldn't believe my luck, so I snapped it up, and I really think it's beautiful. I'm very much looking forward to seeing it do something next year. Another Hoya that I'm obsessed with right now is this one. This is Hoya carnosa tricolour. I bought this one from Grow Tropicals, and it's actually grown really well. It's put out new growth. I wouldn't say it was a fast grower for me yet. I think next year will be more telling, because it will be my first proper full growing season with it after it's established itself. But I'm quite happy with the progress anyway for this first year. I think it definitely looks a bit more full than it did. And this is one of the ones with that stunning inner variegation. I definitely want to get more Hoyas with inner variegation. I think it's really pretty. But yeah, I love this one. It's so it's so thick and waxy, if that makes any sense. And then onto this shelf we have a few plants here. We're going to start off with Peperomia Hope. Something I keep doing with this plant is I keep accidentally knocking off the new leaves. You can see one there. Just as they're coming out, they're so delicate, and when I'm moving this around, if I'm watering it or whatever I'm doing to it, I keep knocking them off, and so it has a few bare bits as a result of that. But despite my mistakes there, it still is growing, and this was just a tiny plant this year. I've only had it not for very long, so I think it's made some pretty good progress this year. And yeah, it's one of my favourite peperomias. I really like it. It's just very delicate, and yeah, those leaves, they fall off so easily until they've kind of got big and thick. But that's just one of those things, I suppose. It doesn't take much either to knock them off. They just come off with the slightest bit of touch. And then over here I've got a, what's this? This is a fishbone cactus or a rickrack cactus, and I had this. Have I had this for 2 years? This was literally just some tiny little cuttings, and so it is still fairly small at the moment, but considering it's grown from some tiny little cuttings, I think it's doing okay. Not the fastest grower in the world, but you know, it is growing, so just looking forward to it taking off a bit more over the years. But yeah, this is one of those plants you have to be patient with. It's going to take its time. It's going to take its sweet time regardless, so it's just a case of watering it and giving it enough light, really. Next we have Hoya quinquenervia. This is another one I got fairly recently, and it's starting on a new leaf there. It's been small like that for a long time, and I've been being incredibly careful not to knock it off because it's so small and delicate. But yeah, I kind of thought this one might grow a bit faster than it has, to be honest, because it's just green. But yeah, this is how it's grown. It hasn't grown a great deal, but I really love it. I love the glossiness of the leaves on this one, and I'm happy to wait till next year for some new growth. It is doing really well, and it's settled in very well. And then on this lower shelf, I'll have to take these out to show you. These ones live under a grow light usually. This is Hoya bella, and again, this one started out as some teeny tiny little cuttings at the beginning of the growing season, so it's definitely taking off somewhat. And I found this pot for it in the charity shop, and yeah, this one's doing really well. It seems to be very happy. I've noticed the foliage kind of starts out quite pale, and then as it matures it gets darker, which is kind of fun. But yeah, it's branching out a lot too, this one, so it's kind of fun to see it branching out, and nice to see that it's doing it on its own without needing intervention. Then here we have Hoya verticillata black margin, and this is one from Grow Tropicals, and I absolutely love this one. It put out quite a few new leaves, and then it stopped now, it seems, for the autumn, but it did a pretty good amount of growing, and I really love this one. I love the glossiness of the leaves, and I love that black margin that it has. I think this is a really pretty Hoya, and really easy to care for too. I really love this one. Looking forward to seeing it grow a little bit more next year. Year 2 is always the most exciting year with a new plant, I find. And then another Hoya here. This is Hoya Flamingo Dreams. The leaves that you see that are white, they start out kind of a bright pink, hence why it's called Flamingo Dreams. At the moment it doesn't have much of that because they've all faded out. But yeah, again, this one's not the fastest grower, but it is growing, and it seems healthy to me. So yeah, hopefully we'll see a little bit more from this one next year, but I think it's just pretty as it is now too. I love the kind of dark red stems that it has as well. This is Hoya Rangsan, another of my favourites. I know I keep saying that. Maybe they can all be my favourites, but this is a really pretty Hoya. It has some beautiful splashy variegation. I absolutely love it. And not just the variegation, but also the shapes of the leaves too. I like how different Hoyas have got different shaped leaves, and I really like how these are kind of a little bit longer with a point, and it's got that really pretty mottled variegation that is different on every leaf. It looks like someone's kind of splattered paint on it. But yeah, I really love this one, and hopefully we'll see it grow a bit more next year. It didn't grow a huge amount this year, but that's okay. And then onto one of my oldest plants here. I've had this for years. This is my Syngonium white butterfly. I had to give it a pole extension this year because yeah, it's a really fast grower, this one, and it is almost to the top of the new pole as well. So once it gets there, I'll just have to keep chopping it back or encourage it to grow down again. But yeah, this is one of my oldest plants, hence why it's so bushy and it's got so many plants popping out all over the place. And yeah, I've taken so many propagations from this one over the years, and that just makes it grow even faster. But I definitely needed something for this one to climb, because without that it would be incredibly heavy. And we're not actually seeing any mature leaves yet, because Syngonium leaves do split more as they get bigger. You get more lobes, but this one hasn't done that yet, so I don't know if it will ever get to that point. But I just love this plant. As I say, it's one of my oldest plants, and I've had it for the longest time. It's been through a lot. It's been pretty hardy when it comes to recovering from pests, and yeah, it gets through the winter just fine as well. Definitely one of my favourites, this one. Another Syngonium here is my Syngonium Mojito, and I chopped this back at the beginning of spring, and it's now grown back nice and bushy. I really love how it's looking nice and full, and it's got lots of different types of variegation on it. I think it was the right thing to do to chop it back, because it's just been sending out so many leaves since I did that. It definitely stimulated the plant to grow much more, and it's always a bit scary, isn't it, when we chop a plant back? We're not sure whether it's the right decision, but it doesn't happen in all cases, but with certain plants it does seem to make them grow back even stronger. So it's all just about experimentation really, but I love the mottled variegation on this one. I wouldn't say this one has the most stable of variegation, but it's worth a go. It's not exactly an expensive plant anymore, so if it reverts, it's not the end of the world. But I just think it's fun as it is now in the moment, and I do love a plant with mottled variegation. I have to say, if I had to pick a type of variegation I like the most, it would probably be mottled variegation, because you get lots of different leaves, and it looks like nature has painted something basically, and I just think that's really nice. And I love how random they are. Yep, I could definitely recommend this one if you haven't got one already. We're on to another Aglaonema now. This is Aglaonema Red Joy, and you can see why it's called that. I think it's a really pretty Aglaonema. It doesn't just have the red, but it also has the lovely green margins and veination, and I just think it's really pretty. I'm definitely a fan of red and pink plants, and this one's beautiful. This is my Monstera albo, and yeah, it's stopped growing now for the growing season, I think, but it did get 3 leaves in before the growing season ended, and so we'll see how it does next year. but as it stands, it's in a good place right now. It's established itself back into growth, because I started off with just a little stump with this one, and yeah, I feel like it's caught up now. This is Philodendron bipennifolium, and I think this has got a really cool shape to the leaves. I really like it, and it's kind of a nice fresh colour too. This is the golden violin version, so when the plant first puts out a new leaf, it will be kind of a golden colour and then it fades out. So yeah, it's quite nice to see that, and I think it's quite a fun philodendron to grow. I guess it will get into its groove a little more next year, and I don't think I've repotted this yet, so that's something to do next spring. Another philodendron, this is Philodendron black cardinal, and this is one of those philodendrons that needs a lot of space. It's very domineering of the space. The leaves get quite big, and it likes to branch out. So yeah, it's definitely one of those that you need a good space for, but I just love plants with dark leaves like this, and I don't have a great deal of them, but this is one of them, and I think it's really pretty. It kind of reminds me of chocolate, which makes me a little bit peckish, but yeah, it also has these really cool burgundy kind of stems and petioles, which I like, and it looks much better in real life, this one. The camera always reflects the light a bit and doesn't really show off its beauty. Next we have the Monstera and Syngonium. This one had a bit of a bad winter last year and it ended up with a bit of a bare bottom, but as you can see, it's now grown back in. And what I've been doing with this one is I've been letting the vines grow right to the bottom of the pole, then I've been training them back up the pole, so they're going up and down basically, and that's what's helping to make the plant fuller. So I've decided that's what I'm going to continue doing for the time being. Might propagate from this one next year. I did try putting a pole extension on, but it just kept falling over, so I came up with the idea to just get it to go up and down the pole, and so far that seems to have worked out okay, so I shall continue. And it seems pretty healthy and happy at the moment, so yeah, I'm quite happy with how it's doing, and it means I don't have to wait for propagations to take over too. And then moving over here to the shelf, I'll bring it down here for you because of the backlight. This is my Schefflera Anne, and this is a variety of umbrella plant that has mottled variegation on it, really pretty mottled variegation, and I haven't had this one for very long, so it has been doing some growing, but it hasn't grown a great deal yet. But I find with umbrella plants, they usually take about a year to settle in, and then after that they'll go a bit nuts and start to grow really fast. So, but I just thought this was quite a cool variety of umbrella plant. I'd never seen it before I bought this one, and I just think it's really pretty. As I said to you before, I do really enjoy mottled variegation. It's my favourite variegation type, so this for me was a really good find. This is my Philodendron Prince of Orange. This is my second growing season with this one. I had it as a small baby last year, really small baby plant, and it's really starting to size up a bit now. It's not the fastest grower, but it's nice and consistent, and you can definitely see progression in the size of the leaves there. It basically starts out with these orange leaves, and they come out quite bright and then they just fade. Eventually they fade down to green, and yeah, it's really beautiful the way it does that, and it's quite a autumnal looking plant, but it's starting to really fill out now and get bigger, so really excited to see this one mature eventually. Next we have Philodendron Pink Princess, and there were some smaller plants in the pot that are taking off there a bit, but the biggest plant, it has put out actually a couple of slightly bigger leaves recently, and they do have some variegation on, so you know, maybe it is starting to size up a little bit, I don't know. But this was my second growing season with this one, and I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with this one, but I've persevered with it because I'm just curious to see what it does. But it's got these baby ones now that are starting to get bigger, so eventually they will start to climb the stick as well, and that might help just to give it more of a fuller appearance. So it's just a case of wait really, but it's kind of nice to see those newer leaves a little bit bigger. Then we have a Tradescantia pallida purple heart. This is probably my favourite Tradescantia, to be honest, just because it's got really nice colour and the leaves are a bit kind of more substantial. It doesn't suffer with the same kind of browning as other Tradescantias do, and I find it just is a lot easier and a lot prettier. And it is a really fast grower though. This was a really small plant when I got it, and it's got to the point where it needs a heavy pot because it is incredibly heavy, but I think it's really pretty, and the purple colour really is beautiful. It does hold its purple really well so long as you give it enough light, but it is based on how much light it gets, so it will turn green if you don't give it enough light, so kind of maybe just be aware of that if you do want to get this plant. Next is dieffenbachia reva, and this one kind of looks similar to the tropic snow, and I thought it was the same plant, but apparently it's a different type called dieffenbachia reva. I'm not sure I can tell the difference, but I'm sure, you know, professional plant people would know. But either way, I think it's really pretty, and this one has just been growing so well since I got it. It's really big. It's hard for me to show you the size of it because you don't really have anything to compare it to, but it is quite big, and I think it's a really cool dieffenbachia. It's one of those plants that gives the jungle vibes, isn't it? And then here we have my bird of paradise. I believe this is I think it might be my second or third growing season with this one. It was literally just a little tiny baby when I got it, so even though it's fairly small still for a bird of paradise, it has grown a lot considering where it started. And yeah, the more it grows, the more I love it. So hopefully as it gets bigger, I will just keep loving it even more. Here we have Philodendron, probably white knight, maybe a white wizard, possibly a white princess, and there are a few plants in this pot. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, I think it's 3. And yeah, it's having a little break now for autumn, winter, having a rest, so we'll see it take off a little bit more next year, but it seems very happy, and I think it has really pretty variegation, this one. It's kind of a bit camouflage, isn't it? Really nice. I think it's beautiful. And then here we have Alocasia stingray. We're just gearing up to get through the autumn winter period with this one. This one grew loads this year, and yeah, it might lose a few leaves during winter, which is normal, but we'll see what happens. But I think it's just a really cool and fun Alocasia. They really do look like little stingrays. It's definitely really unique, and it's just put out this new leaf in the middle here. Still a bit soft, but I think that will be the last leaf that it puts out for this year. But I'm just really happy to have this Alocasia in my collection, and I do think actually next year I'm going to get into Alocasias a little more, so I'm going to buy a few at the beginning of next year's growing season, so excited about that. And then over here I have my Epipremnum aureum marble queen. This one is growing up a 5-foot pole. I think it's about 5 feet tall. It's about as tall as me, so that sounds about right. But this one has some really cool variegation on it. I love to watch this one grow. It's so pretty, and it's got this beautiful kind of marbled mottled variegation. It grows really fast too, and it's nearly made it to the top of its pole. It is still growing at the moment too, so it hasn't actually stopped yet, but it just has some of the prettiest leaves, and it's one of those really easy to care for plants too. And I know it's a really common plant, and a lot of people are put off by common plants these days, but honestly sometimes the classics are the best, and I just love this one. It's really loving life here right next to the window. It definitely needs a lot of light in order to maintain the variegation. It will revert to green if you don't give it enough light, and some of the leaves, if they get enough light, they do come out almost white, and I think it's really pretty. Over here I have a pot of rubber plants. We have the Ficus robusta, that's the green one, and then I think there's 3 Ficus robustas in there because there's 2 propagations as well from last year. And then next to it there's also the Ficus Billy's ruby, and I think they look quite nice together. I'm not always a fan of combining plants, but for some reason with rubber plants I think it looks quite nice when you combine them, and it kind of makes sense because they have the same care needs, and I just think they complement each other quite well when you pot them up together. I think the Billy's ruby is probably my favourite out of the 2, but the Ficus robusta is one of my oldest plants. I've had it for a long time. I bought it at the end, I think it was during the lockdown actually, or just at the end, so when COVID was around, so quite a while ago, and yeah, I've kind of chopped it since then to encourage it to branch a bit more. But this one, the Ficus Billy's ruby, I think I've had this one since last year. Then here is my yucca, and this yucca is doing so well. It really loves it here in the bedroom where it can get lots of nice light, and we have the 2 bigger plants in there, and then there's a smaller one coming out too. But this one has grown so much this year, and it definitely needs a repot come spring, so I have a big pot already waiting for it. And yeah, it's gonna get big before we know it again. But I absolutely love this one, and it gives that tropical feel as well, which I really love. It's actually surprised me by how much it has grown this year. Over here we have Peperomia caparata Keto Lime. This is a new one, I haven't had it for that long, but it's just got some really cool colours in it, kind of pink and lime colours, and I really love it. I think it's a pretty peperomia. These ones come in lots of different colours and varieties too, but this one in particular, I really like it. It kind of has an ombre look to it with the 2 colours in there. And then next to it here, this is a Syngonium white butterfly. This is just some cuttings I took from the mother plant. It really propagates well, this plant, so well. And yeah, I've given lots of them away, but I've ended up with one here that I don't know what to do with, so it's just here doing its thing. This is an Easter cactus. This is one that my mum-in-law gave me, and I've had it for a few years. Every year without fail it flowers around Easter time, and I did repot it this year, so it has a slightly bigger pot, but I love this one. I also love this one. This is Scindapsus argyraeus, and this is a fairly recent plant that I got, and it was just a little tiny baby, and it's grown so much in the time I've had it. Even though I haven't had it long, it's already starting to trail. Definitely a fast grower, faster than the Scindapsus exotica for sure, but I think it's really pretty. I really love this one. I just love the kind of the silvery marks on the leaves and the way it trails. I think it's really pretty, and we always need more plants for our shelves, don't we? Trailing plants for our shelves. Can't get enough of them, to be honest, personally. This is my Philodendron Jose Bueno. This was my first growing season with this. I bought this one from Grow Tropicals and it had maybe 3 leaves when I got it, and it has been one of my fastest growers this year. I think I'm going to make a video about my fastest growing plants this year because some of them have just really overtaken the others, but this one has sized up beautifully. It definitely needs a bit of support, this one, because it is quite heavy, but as you can see it's growing so much and it has so many leaves. This one really is one of those philodendrons that needs a lot of space, but it's one of my favourites, and every leaf is different and beautiful. And this is another one that I had on my wish list that I'm pleased to say has actually lived up to my expectations. In fact, I'd say it might have exceeded my expectations. I just love this one, the way the leaves are all different. I find it really fun to grow, and that's what it should be, fun. Next we have Thermatophyllum bipinnatifidum, and this was my first growing season with this one. I actually bought it last year at the end of at the beginning of winter, kind of October-y time, so autumny time. So I've had it about a year, and yeah, it had a lot of thrips, but these new leaves it's putting out are perfect with no thrip damage, and so I think I've finally got to the bottom of it. I've just been very persistent with my treatment with this one, and it did take a while to get rid of them, I will admit that, but so far so good. They'll probably be back, but I'm really glad that I went to the effort for this plant. It was quite a lot of effort to go to because I had to keep taking this plant to the shower time after time, and honestly it's a really big plant, but these new leaves that are coming through, they look so beautiful and healthy, and that's a really good sign to say the thrips are gone. I do keep checking it too, but I just love this plant. I think it's a real showstopper. It's a really big plant, needs a lot of space, so definitely give it a bit of space if you have one of these, because they get very big, and I'm not sure what I'll do with this one when it gets bigger than this. Then here I have another Philodendron Brazil. I've actually had this one longer than my other one that I showed you earlier, but this one was just a teeny tiny one, and it's actually got really full this year because in the previous year I had done a lot of chopping and propping from it, planting them back into the pot, and I think when you chop this plant it does tend to stimulate it to grow more bushy, so it's kind of become a little bit more bushy, this one, even though it's smaller than my other one. But it's quite interesting to see how both plants are quite different, but this is one of those plants that I really love so much that I would have multiples of, hence why I have 2, but next year I'll definitely be doing a bit more propagating. Another trading plant here that I have is Epipremnum Enjoy, and this was my first growing season with this one. I think I got it kind of halfway into the growing season, so I haven't really had it that long, but I just think it has the prettiest variegation, this one, and the leaves all come out different shapes too. It is starting to trail as well. As I say, it was just a little plant, and I've put it in this lovely pot, which is one of my favourites, but if I hold it like this you can see kind of how full it's getting. It's getting so full and lush, and yeah, I'll definitely give it a repot come spring as well, because I think it's already getting ready to fit into a new pot. But yeah, it's a really pretty variety of Epipremnum. I really do love this one. Could highly recommend it. It's very easy to care for as well. And then this is my variegated umbrella plant, and this one was having a few issues and I couldn't work out what was wrong, and silly me went and sprayed it with a systemic pesticide thinking it had thrips, and it turns out it actually had spider mites, but I just wasn't seeing them. I guess because the spider mites are white against the yellow it's harder to see, but yeah, systemic pesticide was the worst thing I could have done, but I have now started treating it for the spider mites, so we're good. This is the purple passion vine, and this is another one that I chopped and restarted at the beginning of spring, and it has grown so much. I mean, it's really starting to bush out. It's starting to get secondary vines growing from the first vines too, which is really cool because I haven't seen it do that yet. At the moment it's kind of in this pot here, and it needs a bit more space really. It needs to go up a bit higher, but I don't want to take it away from this window because it just seems to grow so well here, but I don't have anywhere kind of higher to put it. But at some point I'm going to have to do it. But I'm just really enjoying how it's growing really, and how beautiful and purple it is. It's a fun plant to grow. Next year I was thinking I might take a few cuttings from this one and have a go at growing it up something, just out of interest to see what it would be like. Keep this one as a trailing plant, but then also grow one up a trellis or something, just to experiment really and see some different ways of growing it. I do like experimenting with different ways of growing plants. I find that kind of interesting. Then here we have my variegated lipstick plant. This is the Aschenanthus lobianus variegata, and I feel like I was really lucky to find this one because I literally found it on a website and I've never really seen it anywhere else, so it's just a really cool plant. I really love lipstick plants in general. Whenever I get a new one, I find them to be really kind of easy care, but also beautiful and fairly fast growing plants. So to find this one with all its pretty colours was a really good find for me. It has kind of these purple bits on it, but it also has kind of splashy white and mint green variegation, and it really seems to vary throughout the plant. So yeah, I just find it really interesting, and it's growing really nicely. It's quite a full, lush plant. Next we have this little variegated bear paw cactus, and this little guy, he's fairly easy to care for. I do find that he's quite delicate, I suppose. It's very easy to knock the paws off, and I often accidentally knock them off just through watering, even though I've been careful, so that keeps happening. But I think it's quite a fun succulent. I don't have many succulents in my collection, but this one in particular, I don't know, it's got these fuzzy little paws and I quite like that. This is a Crassula ovata jade plant, and this year I planted all my jade plants in together, so there are loads of them in here. There's variegated ones, there's green ones. I just put them all in together, and just to give me less pots to manage, but also just to kind of make an interesting plant. I think it looks quite nice with the variegated one next to the green one. And the green one I've actually had for the longest time. It's one of my oldest plants. I had it when it was just a tiny baby, and I think it looks quite nice like this, all planted in one pot. It looks quite nice and full, and I have chopped these every year that I've had them, so that helps it to branch out, so that's why it's looking quite nice and full. Next we have another Crassula. This is a type of Crassula called Crassula lotus, Crassula garnet lotus, and it's kind of a fun plant, obviously called because it looks a bit like a lotus flower. But the fun part about this one is you kind of get purple undertones to the leaves on this one during the spring summer months when there's enough sun, and it does fade out a bit during autumn winter. But I think this is a really pretty and interesting succulent. Next we have what I think it's either a Peperomia optopan bicolor or a Peperomia obtusifolia variegated. I'm not sure whether those are two different plants or the same plant, but either way, this is a really pretty Peperomia with really beautiful gold and green colours to it, and red stems, and It's a really fun one to grow this. I actually bought this last year from Morrison's supermarket, and by some miracle it survived. It was just a little plant. I think I paid maybe £1 for it, or £2, and this was my first growing season with it, and it's grown really well. It's really taken off. So I just really like this one. I think those gold colours in it are quite striking. This is another one that I bought from Morrison's at the same time. Again, this was just £1 or £2, and it was tiny. This is Peperomia obtusifolia, and again this one has really taken off this year. It's got a lot bigger, and the leaves are getting a lot bigger, and it's really starting to take off. I love how shiny and dark the leaves are on this plant. I think it's a really pretty peperomia, and really happy that it's growing so well. You can even see that in the soil here we've got new ones popping out, so it seems to be multiplying, and that will fill the plant out quite a bit. But it's getting quite tall now. I didn't realise it grew this big. This is my Thamatophyllum sprucianum, and yeah, I had to chop this back because all the leaves died off, but it's got all of these little leaves coming back in, and yeah, some of them have the cutest lobes on them, and it does seem to be growing back. So yeah, I think we'll just wait with this one. And then here I have a Monstera and Philodendrons, but this is the mint version. This also started out as 2 small cuttings at the beginning of the growing season, and it's really bushing out, really taking off, doing really well, this one. And next year I will have to give it something a little more substantial to climb, I think, but I absolutely love this one. And thank you so much if you made it to the end of this fairly long video. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.